Joining me now from Washington, D.C., RNC Senior Communications Advisor of Black Media Affairs and member of the Black Voices for Trump 2020 Advisory Board, Dennard. Paris, thank you for joining me. Paris, what do you make of this, these third-party groups trying to get people from out of state to register to vote? That's obviously fraud.
Well, I'm just not surprised by the lengths that the Democrats, the radical Democrat Party, will go to try to win an election. What we have been fighting for, what 74 plus million Americans have been fighting for, continue to fight for, is election transparency and the integrity of our elections. We want every legal vote counted and every illegal vote taken out. And when you see the Democrats trying to encourage people from out of state to come in and vote, it just shows the weakness of their own apparatus in the state. What we can tell you about the RNC and our Republican efforts is that we are strong in the state of Georgia. We don't need to fly in people from out of state to come in to vote. We can just encourage our own registered legal voters in the state who are Republican. And I believe there's some independents and Democrats who are going to reject the radical left agenda of those on the Democrat side running in the Georgia Senate seat and vote for the Republican. But it just shows the desperate nature of the Democrats resorting to these types of tactics. And this is why we continue to fight for the election transparency and the integrity of the elections.
Yeah, and before these investigations were open, we heard Democrats calling for that, and it was hardly covered. And obviously now that they're investigating over 250 cases, like that's a big deal. And you're right, the Democrats don't want to win with ideas, and that's why they have all these tricks up their sleeves. And this news report should make all of the people of Georgia very concerned. And overall, I don't believe that the people of Georgia are fully convinced that there was a free and fair election that happened there on Election Day.
Well, you know what? When you see the amount of enthusiasm from people that are coming out to these events, the upcoming rally, I'm sure there's going to be a large crowd. I know this Saturday there in Georgia. I've been in Georgia. I'll be back in Georgia helping with the GOTV effort. People are fed up with the media calling elections and with examples of things that don't seem to be right, voter irregularities. And so they want this election to be just. They want their votes to count, and they want it to be, like you said earlier, fair. And that's not what a lot of people see, and that's why we continue to fight.
Yeah, there's a new talking point out there. I keep hearing it regurgitated on the news on all the channels. And here from theguardian.com, it says, Trump's baseless claims of Georgia voter fraud sparks fears among Republicans. Are Republicans concerned about this? Do they think that this is going to hurt the Georgia runoff? Because they're suggesting that some Republicans might not go out and actually vote because they feel like the system is rigged, so why bother?
Well, I don't know where this is coming from, but I tell you, it sounds like a voter suppression tactic because the Republicans in this race are examples of true Georgian values. My family comes from Georgia, and so I understand something about Georgia values. And I think Georgia voters do not want to defund the police. I think Georgia voters do not want to have the Green New Deal or have government-run health care and take away their private health insurance to their employers. I believe that Georgia voters are going to reject the radical left agenda that the two, Warnock and Ossoff, represent with the coalition that they're forming in D.C. with Bernie Sanders and AOC. It's not something that Georgia voters want. And so this call or these claims that Republicans are not going to vote, that's not true. Republicans are going to come out and vote strong like they did before, because if not for Georgia's laws in terms of the percentage that you have to get to be cleared the renter outright, these two Republicans, Loeffler and Perdue, would be considered the United States senators in any other state. We are going to win these two elections because of our superior GOTV efforts that are coming through the RNC, unprecedented amounts of funding, resources, and boots on the ground in terms of people coming in to support both volunteers and staff. And so the notion that Republicans are not going to turn out and vote is false. We are, because we're motivated and we're inspired by the message that these two Republicans represent.
Yeah, and again, I don't know where this talking point came from. Everyone's using it. I haven't heard any Republicans, just regular, everyday Americans who are like, oh, I don't really care about voter fraud, or I don't really want to know what happened in this 2020 election. So I think not only is it voter suppression, as you pointed out, but I think it's like a way to try to muzzle President Trump. They don't want him talking about voter fraud.
They don't want President Trump to be focused on the integrity of our elections, because they know if anybody is going to get to the bottom of this, if anybody's going to hold people accountable, it's going to be President Trump. And if we don't do something about it this time around, the Democrats are going to do this over and over again. Enough is enough. It is time to protect the vote. That's why the RNC set up protectthevote.com months and months ago, because we knew that the radical Democrats all mail-in balloting system that they were pushing on these states was going to wreak havoc. And we've seen that this is a problem, and that's why we're fighting back.
Yeah, and again, turnout is so important in this runoff election, and there's a super PAC now to drive that turnout. What do we know about it?
Well, you know what? People make a lot of emphasis on money and these super PACs that are here to do turnout on both sides, but ultimately it's going to come down to the ground game. And the RNC is putting in the resources to have a strong ground game. We're going door to door. Our own RNC chairwoman, Ronna McDaniel, was there on the ground last week knocking on doors safely. That's what's going to be the real measure of a result. It's turning out the vote and getting out the vote. So these PACs and on both sides are going to spend money. We're going to put up ads. That's great. But you know what's going to really turn the vote is the GOTV effort, being on the ground and having a data-driven apparatus, which the RNC has, to activate voters, find new voters, register voters, and get them to turn out. And that's exactly what we've done. We've shown through the House seats that we flipped and the special elections that we've won that we are capable of doing this and doing it well. And we've been in Georgia for a long time putting together this team, and we're confident in the work that the team is doing.
Well, all great points. Thank you so much.
Thank you.